Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out. Pleasure to be joined by Matchroom Boxing CEO Frank Smith. Frank, good to see you. A lot of talk, a lot of action in the last few days concerning Matchroom Boxing, and that is headlined by the signing of Ben Whittaker, which is a long play, would you say, to get this deal over the line?
Yeah, look, it's been years, really. We first had a conversation with him when he was turning over. We were very close, so close we even filmed a promotional video with him, which never saw the light of day. He obviously made his move at the first stage of his career, and we always, I think we always felt that when the time came, when he was a free agent, when the opportunity arose, we would make a big play for him. I truly believe, and I said this before we signed him, that he is, you know, he has the ability to be a superstar in the sport, and he has from a commercial perspective, he has everything that's needed to get all the way to the top of the sport. And that's why we push so hard for him. So, it's been a long time coming, but we got there in the end, nearly 3 years since he turned professional.
Looking for some detailing amongst the announcement regarding the long-term deal. What does the long-term deal represent in terms of actual length in years or fights? And also, we know that Ben Whittaker doesn't come cheap. That was the crux of why Ben didn't land at Matchroom Boxing the first time round. Where does Ben figure in amongst the highest earners at Matchroom Boxing?
Look, he's a huge star. As I said, everyone was after him, not just promoters in the UK, but all around the world. Every promoter wanted to sign Ben Whittaker. Again, understandably, look at what he's done already at the stage of his career. That comes at a price, of course, as you saw with the promo, show me the money, but everything we do is based on long-term vision of what we can deliver. With Ben Whittaker, we signed a multi-year deal with him. It's not just a couple of fights. This is a long-term plan. I believe we will work with Ben until he retires. It's not signed up to that, but that's what I truly believe. I think we'll deliver for him. I think we'll do a great job. I think he will deliver as well. And I think it will be a great partnership. I also truly believe Eddie and Ben together, sort of as a pairing, are going to be unmatched. And yeah, expensive, but he deserves it. He's worked hard. And look, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's proven himself yet, that's all to come. I think you're going to see some great things with Ben Whittaker over the years, but to see what he's done at such an early stage of his career, just 10 fights in, the audience he brings in is quite amazing. And I'm excited to be on this journey. We've been in this sport for so long now. Every now and again, you need these moments where you go, wow. And that's what we've got with Ben Whittaker, something that excites us and makes us, engaged to go and deliver and create a new superstar.
I know that when it came to the promotion material was entertaining and fun. I thought it was quite a good watch from both sides of the coin, whether it be the reveal of him signing to Matching Boxing or the interaction between him and Eddie. But what I thought was quite interesting was when the reveal came of you with that SWAT team, if you want to call it that. But is that a little nod towards this being a Frank Smith centric deal as opposed to what would be Frank and Eddie? Was it you really pulling the strings to get Ben over the line?
Oh, look, we do everything, as a business together. Whoever can get things done, get things done. I had a conversation with, look, it was a long time coming, really, where we were waiting for confirmation of when he was a free agent. Everyone was waiting for that. And as soon as he was in a position to be able to go and talk to all the promoters, I'm sure they went out to every promoter. Every promoter, as I said, was interested. I sat down with Will Harvey, his manager, and I believe it was last Sunday. So 9 days ago, he rang me. He said, right, we're good to go. We're agreed. And then from Sunday through to Thursday, we worked, day and night to get a contract together, get it finalized. On Friday, we signed the deal. We shot a promo, and on Monday we launched that promo. It was we turned it around very quickly, and it was a big team effort with everyone involved. Eddie is a huge part, of course, in everything that we do. I sort of handled the negotiations of it, got it signed, and yeah, we're here. It's exciting. Now it's Eddie's job to make him a superstar.
How would you describe Ben Whittaker and his team in terms of negotiators?
That was good. I think we all were aligned on the fact that, and I think Ben had always been open over the years, years back when we first had the discussions, I think that, and he said in his interviews that Matchroom was always the place he wanted to be, but the deal has to make sense. And I said to him when I saw him, I didn't necessarily disagree with the deal he did at the time. He got paid a lot of money, you know, but, and also if Boxer had have delivered for him and had have done a job for him that was good enough, he probably would have stayed there. But now it's time to take it to the next level and the next stage of his career, and that's what we're here to do. We've proven it time and time again that we can do it, and we'll do it with Ben Whittaker. But to deal with him and his team was great. Will Harvey, Mo, himself as well. Everyone involved. It moved very quickly, and we got a deal done. And when you want to make a deal and you're not standing in the way of it, and you want to get things moving, you can quite quickly make things happen.
Yeah, I want to focus a little bit on the promotional predecessors in the form of Boxer. There's been a lot of kind of rumors circulating around Boxer fighters or Boxer fighters that are signed to Boxer in the absence of Sky Sports. That might meant that their contracts were null and void and they were then free agents. We've seen Vidal Riley put himself out to be free agents. Is this confirmation of the Ben Whittaker deal to Matchroom? Is essentially the confirmation of the presence of that clause, that the Sky Sports break clause is there because Boxer no longer have them as a broadcaster.
I guess everyone's contract is different. It was always quite public with a number of fighters that was a key clause, understandably, because a lot of them had signed over for the fact of being on Sky and being with the platform. I don't know every fighter's contract. We don't ever go out of our way to, cause fighters to leave contracts, cause issues, breaches, etc. With Ben Whittaker, as I said, we waited until we were advised he was a free agent and was open for discussions. That was a process. Bear in mind, he boxed back in April. That was a process, as I say, only started. I haven't even got the date in front of me, but I saw Will Harvey a day after he was clear to have discussions, and we began discussions then. Other fighters, as you say, Vidal Riley, I'm sure he's talking to another number of promoters. We've had discussions with him as well. But yeah, I can't talk on every fighter's contract because I'm not a party to it.
You've had discussions with Vidal Riley. Is
Yeah.
that still a present and moving thing, or is that done?
No, he's ongoing. We're having discussions with him, as I say again, as he is with other promoters, I'm sure. He's obviously managed by 258. We have a very close relationship and good relationship with 258. But of course, they're going to deliver the best possible opportunity for Vidal. I like Vidal a lot. I like, he's got a great platform. And I think, and I said this when I met him as well, I don't think he's ever had the respect as a fighter that he deserves, because sometimes he's been looked at, not as maybe gimmick's the wrong word, but because he came from that world of the influencer side, people have never given him the respect. But we saw what he did. He had a great fight against Chev Clark, a great win there, obviously against us when we promoted Chev Clark in that fight. So yeah, we shall see, but discussions ongoing.
Can you confirm any other discussions surrounding any other previous, as we were aware of, Boxer fighters? Are there any other discussions with any other fighters at the moment?
No, no, no other discussions. I mean, look, as I said time and time again, any fighter that's a free agent that has value, we will always talk to. So we shall see. But no other discussions with any other fighters. And we wait until we're advised that a fighter is free and clear, and then we enter into the discussions.
What do you think of the job that was done by Ben Shalom and Boxer for Ben Whittaker? First of all, the matchmaking for putting him into the fight with Liam Cameron, and then the job back to get that rematch and put him in the position to atone for whatever happened in the first fight.
Well, I mean, the problem is I have a view, and I think it's a shared view from a lot of people, but I come across as a hater if I say what I feel. I don't think they did a great job with Ben Whittaker from a promotional perspective. I think Ben Whittaker has done a great job building a profile, and I think social media has been a huge part of that, of course, especially in the world we live in now. I don't think from a matchmaking perspective they did a great job with him, because I think they spent obviously a lot of money to sign him and then didn't have the money to get the right opponents. And it's not just, it's about opponents that can help him improve and grow and develop, then you had the problems with the Liam Cameron fight, 10 rounds, 12 rounds, like it's just amateur hour, but if I say all these things, people say, oh, he's a hater. No, I don't really care. It doesn't affect us now. Our job is to deliver for Ben Whittaker. We didn't sign Ben Whittaker to get one up on Boxer. We signed Ben Whittaker because we believe in what he can do. We believe in the star he can become. And, our job now is to go and keep him active, build that momentum, build that story. He's going to have 4 fights in 14 months. By the end of next year, 4 more fights. And then I think from there, be ready to start pushing on into that world scene.
I thought a couple of comments came interesting from Simon Jordan in reaction to Ben Whittaker's move. First of all, I believe it was reported on TalkSport that Ben had signed a new deal with Boxer. That had obviously not been the case considering he signed with Matchroom. But Simon Jordan mentioned that Ben Shalom had unearthed the talent in Ben Whittaker, and this is kind of what you get for that process. Just your thoughts on those comments.
I mean, Simon Jordan talks the most amount of waffle. You know, he is a brilliant talker, much better than me. But I will forget more about boxing than he will ever know about boxing and the business of boxing. To say that Ben Shalom unearthed Ben Whittaker, the Olympic medalist, like he didn't go to some amateur club and find him and bring this star through, did he? He went and signed with a lot of money a brilliant amateur who had gone to the Olympics and won a medal, right? Didn't unearth him. He then failed to deliver. And like I said earlier, had they have delivered, had they have done a good job, and I said this to Ben as well, he probably could have stayed with them and signed a new deal with them. But they didn't. So Ben was like, right, now to move on to the next stage of my career and go to that next level.
The other thing we said that Ben was currently more style than substance, but a belief that the substance will find its level. Do you agree with that in any way? That Ben right now is a lot of talk, but hasn't quite proven his potential yet?
I think there's a lot more to come from Ben Whittaker. I think especially with Andy Lee as part of the team as well, you're going to see an improved Ben Whittaker. Essentially his job is to get in there and beat the opponents in front of him. He did that. Look, the Liam Cameron fight obviously ended the way it ended the first one, but look what he went back in and did in the second fight with a lot of pressure on him, with a lot of people then writing him off. So does he have the substance? Well, he's shown that he has the substance in there with the people he's been in with. Can he move up a level? Yes. Can he go to the top of the sport? Yes. You don't do what he did in the amateurs if you don't have the substance. But it's not Ben Whittaker's problem. If people say, well, that opponent wasn't, or this opponent, like Ben Whittaker went in there and did what he had to do. But the great thing is he's going to prove it to everyone now. He's going to be kept active. He's going to have that momentum. He's going to be in fights. And I believe, as I keep saying, he will be a superstar of the sport, not just in the UK, but globally.
Frank, just a final thing before I let you go. And I see your station, so you want to probably move on to the next thing. But obviously, you've had this agreement or new deal in place with Riyadh season amongst the darts and further extension. Can you put some meat on the bones of what that means going forward with Riyadh season and Matchroom Sports?
Yeah, look, we've got a great relationship with Riyadh season. What they've done across sports is quite amazing. They've created a sensational platform, not just in sports actually, but across entertainment as well. For us, it's important to look at new markets, not just in boxing, but all the sports we're involved in. Boxing, obviously, Turki Al-Sheikh has done an amazing job with over the last just 2 years. But obviously, snooker has been taken there with the 167 tournament as well. And now we see darts there early next year. So 3 of our core properties, our sponsorship deal as well, and our partnership with Riyadh Season Boxing continues. Our relationship across shows continues with them. I was with them, the team today at Tottenham ahead of Eubank Ben as well. So, lots of exciting things ahead, and it's great to be in partnership with them and look forward to many more opportunities to come as well.
Frank, we'll leave it there. Hopefully, I'll see you in Sheffield. We can catch a bit again a little bit more further on that card. So, thanks for speaking to Seconds Out, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers, mate. Good to catch up.